So I'm just going to talk principles, if that's okay, and then we'll talk principles, and then we can do Q&A, and we'll do probably a little bit of extended Q&A as we go. We'll see how we go through this stuff, but we'll just do an extended Q&A time. And the reason why I like Q&A is because we can directly answer questions that are relevant to you and your circumstance, right? Rather than and we can get to some of the practical nuts and bolts in Q&A rather than trying to go through it with principles that, with details in my life. So, because probably the number one question I get asked, Heidi was my assistant for a number of years, probably the number one question we got asked is, how in the world do you do all you do? Because I do have quite the schedule. Besides pastoring a large church, I volunteer as a high school football coach in the community. I was overseeing, Canada for a number. As chairman of Canada Victory Churches of Canada, so that I was a regional pastor, a district pastor, plus writing books, plus having a marriage and kids, plus all the other stuff. So, and going, well, how do you juggle all of this stuff? And it is through years and years of figuring out how I tick, right? And that's all of us are different personalities, different backgrounds, like different ways, and you need to learn what makes you tick, how your brain works. Your schedule, every single person, every single leader's schedule is going to be different because every single leader is different. Makes sense? That's deep, I know, but I mean, what makes how you think, what energizes you, what sucks the energy out of you is completely different than the person beside you. Right, and when you're most energetic, when you're sharpest in the day, in the week, in the year, is going to be completely different than everybody else. So I'm just going to go through three major principles that have kind of been a guideline for me for a long time, and then we'll just kind of break it down, and then we'll go again, like I said, to a Q&A, and we can get to some of the nuts and bolts and all of that. So in your notes, number 1, the first principle is prioritize. Okay, so prioritize, and we can go 2 is organize, and 3 is discipline. Okay, and this is POD. Some of you have heard this. This has been taught. I think Pastor George and Hazel taught this years ago on Finishing Edge. I was in the first Finishing Edge, and this was taught there, and it's kind of guided me for a long time. But prioritize, organize, discipline. Okay, so under prioritize, here's something that's kind of, and I saw that Pastor Dan had this in his notes, attached in his notes, but here's something that's helped me as a pastor, prioritize, and I added an 8th one, just to be different than Pastor Dan. It's all good. We had our priorities as a leader. There's 8 growth points or 7 growth points, 8 growth points in every church, and when we talk about a church growing, we often talk about numerically growing. Is your church growing? Is numerically growing? And reality is, if we talk to pastors and we have conferences in the summer, conveniently, isn't that nice? And they say, how's your church doing? And all of us in the summer are depressed in Canada, right? We're depressed. Well, last Sunday we had a record low attendance. And because it gets, if you're worried about numerical growth, there's seasons in church growth. And if you're focused on just growing your church numerically, there's going to be parts of your year that you're going to be depressed as a pastor. There's parts where you're going to probably be too high. Easter Sunday for us is off. That's Super Bowl Sunday basically. That's off the charts day. Christmas is a great time, and you get a Christmas attendance, and you're thinking we are doing awesome, and then January hits, and it's too cold all of a sudden for people to come out, and then spring hits, and all of a sudden it's too nice for people to come out. And then summer hits, and it's too much holidays. And then September hits, and you're thinking, okay, now. And then, well, no, we're busy with school, and so now we can't. And it's like, oh my goodness. So I mean, how do we judge a church by whether it's growing or not? So I talked for years, 7 growth points. I added an 8th one just to kind of bring clarification. But let's just go through them quickly. Is number 1, the 8th growth points. Number 1 is the leader has to grow. Okay, so if the leader stops growing, then the organization stops growing. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Okay, so the moment I stop growing as a leader, what I'm leading might grow for a season, but eventually it's going to cap off. Okay, because it'll grow off of momentum, but if I stop growing, eventually you're going to hit a ceiling. Okay, so it's kind of like water skiing. This is the analogy that the pastor gave me one time, kind of like water skiing. When the boat takes off, you're sitting on the dock and you see the rope. You don't initially, when the boat leaves, you don't initially leave with it. All right? If you're water skiing, the rope, and eventually it catches and it's going. The same thing, if you grow as a leader, sometimes you're growing as a leader and you're growing, and you're looking behind and going, what I'm leading is not growing like I thought it would be. You promised me, Pastor Kelly, if I grow, what I'm leading is going to grow. And it's not going with me. Well, that's because eventually, if you grow, eventually what you're leading the rope's going to catch. Okay, and eventually it's going to come with you. Likewise, if the boat stops, that doesn't mean you as the water skier stop. Immediately, right? You're eventually going to stop. Hopefully not in the back of the boat. But you're eventually going to stop. But you're going to have momentum that'll carry for a while, but eventually, without the trajectory of the boat going, eventually it's going to stop too. And it's the same thing in your organization. So as a leader, the moment you stop growing, what you're leading is going to stop growing too. So the leader has to grow. Summer's a great time. This week, I don't know, anybody feel like they've been stretched at all and growing? Oh my goodness, we need tomorrow just to digest what we've eaten all week. Wow. Anyway, but we've been growing, and you're going to watch, you're going to go back, and there's all these ideas and talking through this stuff, and now, you're energized. That's growth. Number 2 is the leadership team. So your core team has to grow with you. Okay, so it's the same principle. When I got to Lethbridge, I told our staff there, I was like, I'm going to grow. I promise I'm going to grow. I need you to grow. If you don't grow, we're eventually going to outgrow you. Right? And I refuse to sacrifice the mission, the Great Commission. And if you're going to become the cap on our ministry, I love you, but I love the mission more. Right? So if you stop growing, and some believe me, and people like Heidi and Ralph and Matt, who Heidi was in the media team at that time. Matt was the children's pastor. Ralph was doing administration, all the rest of it. Now all 3 of these guys, they grew, and now they're all campus pastors and leading the rest of it. But there's others who didn't believe me, and they're no longer with us, right? Because it's your choice. But if your team doesn't grow, then it's going to become a cap. If the children's pastor doesn't grow, the children's ministry won't grow, and then guess what? It's going to cap your church from growing, right? So the team has to grow. Number 3 is the culture. Okay, the culture has to grow. So what does that mean? Culture happens by design or by default, so you're going to have to work the culture. The culture is the behavior. I don't know if you've felt this before, but every church has a sign outside that says everyone is welcome. That means diddly squat. That means nothing. Right? It's how people, you can have a sign, everyone's welcome, but how people are treated in the parking lot, to the front door, to the rest of it is gonna dictate, no matter what you preach, no matter what vision you have, it's gonna preach a whole lot louder than the sign you have out front. If you put a sign out front that says no perfect people, right? We didn't put that up right away because our people were, some of the people still had this idea that hey, we're Christians, we're church people, so you can't come dressed like that. You can't, you shouldn't come in here. How is your church going to respond when lesbian couples walk in holding hands, or a homosexual couple? Like, what's going to happen? How are you going to respond? What are they going to do? It doesn't matter what you say from the pulpit. It's how they're treated. So your culture has to grow with your vision, because your culture is going to trump your vision every single time. So you can say all the right things, but if your people aren't doing it, okay. So culture. 4 is systems. Okay, systems don't grow a church, but a lack of systems will certainly stop a church from growing. Okay, and your systems have to grow. The systems you have at the smaller level, this is what I should have said a little bit more this morning, explained it, but the systems you need as you grow, you outgrow the current systems. You're not, like systems aren't one size fits all and this is all going to work. You're going to have to change and constantly change and evaluate. And the moment something stops moving, and there's a systems problem, you're going to have to tweak and rework systems. There's a big difference in the systems between a McDonald's and the mom and pop shop, burger joint down the road, right? Their systems are totally different. And McDonald's has a system down pat because they're big and their organizations all around the world, so their systems are different, but they're constantly tweaking their systems, aren't they? Right? Because all of a sudden they had to stop, and all of a sudden they've redecorated, and all of a sudden they've started selling coffee, and they're the number one selling coffee in Canada now. Did you know that? They passed Tim Hortons, and it's like, wow, it's amazing, right? But they found something, they tapped into something, and how'd they start it? Free coffee. And then people tasted it and went, actually, this is pretty good. And then it's cheap coffee. It's cheap, good coffee. Hey, not so bad, right? But systems constantly grow. Number 5 is your numbers, numerically growth. There's a number of things you can do to grow numerically. Number 6 is your finances or dollars. Again, having a flush bank account doesn't guarantee your church is going to grow. But having a lack of money is certainly going to hold you back, right? So there's lots of churches that have a big bank account and aren't growing. There's other churches that are, you just get into finance, you just outgrow your money. Okay, so you got to figure out a way to make that work. Number 7 is your expectations. Expectations have to grow. This is the excitement in which people come into your church, expectancy they come into your service with. So this means you got to change things up. You got to change expectations, and expectations draws on the anointing. Okay, it pulls on. An example of that is Jesus couldn't do miracles in his hometown. Why? Because their expectations were too low. Their expectations were, this is Jesus whom we grew up with. This is Jesus, the carpenter's son. Who is this? This is Jesus. Their expectations were low, and it limited his anointing. Jesus. Right? So if people come into your church, and it's the same old, and they have low expectation, guess what? Your anointing level in your services is going to match the expectation level. Therefore, as a church, we should pay attention to the expectation level. Okay, which is why as a church, a lot of you follow us on Facebook and YouTube and all the rest of it, which is why as a church, why do we do creative things? To grow the expectation level. Right? We're going, well, you're just doing it to be cool. No, we're growing the expectation level so if people can come to church and go, what's going to happen this Sunday? What's going to happen? What are they going to do? What's Pastor Ralph's going to play a saxophone? What is going to happen? Like, why would you do that? Right? You would do that because, people come in, they laugh, they smile, all the rest of it, and it grows the expectation level, which sets up everything else, right? It all of a sudden they sets them up. And we find we do something silly like that. We always do that creative stuff at the beginning of the service, right, to not distract from the message. But we find when people laugh or the expectation, the creative part of it, it's amazing how much that pulls them more into worship because a guard went down, something happens, their expectation level went up, and the anointing, the service goes up. Okay, so grow the expectation level. Number 8 is your facilities. Again, having great facilities doesn't guarantee a church will grow. There's evidence of that. There's some beautiful church buildings all across our country that are empty. And then there's churches that are meeting in schools and setting up and tearing down. And if the two could ever meet, oh my goodness. Right? Wouldn't that be awesome? So having big facilities doesn't guarantee your church is going to grow. But a lack of facilities certainly creates problems and limits growth. So when it comes to priorities, okay, the reason I put those 8 growth points down is those are priorities that I look and go, okay, what season am I in? When I look at my calendar and managing my time, I find which one is our weakest link right now. Of these 8, which one is our weakest link? Which one do I need to put my attention to right now? Okay, and there's going to be some you're going, oh, I need to grow this, I need to grow that. So I in a season, so it's summertime. Every summer we are tweaking systems. Right? So we work and tweak, and so my attention goes in my calendar, and my priority goes with what am I trying to change right now? What am I trying to grow right now? Okay, there's certain times of a year where it's like, okay, it's me time. It's time to invest in me and grow me. There's other times where I'm saying, okay, we're gonna grow the team. We're gonna intentionally gonna work on that. I'm gonna spend a whole lot more time pouring into the team and growing the team and pushing them. Okay, so There's other times where I got to focus on, in Easter time, I'm focused on numbers. Okay, it's not time to tweak systems when it's too late, right? It's harvest time. I mean, at harvest time, it's not time for the farmer to sit there and talk about planting next year's harvest. No, he's working, getting that crop in. So that's time to focus on that. So I want to put that first. Your priorities and understanding your priorities as a pastor and as a leader are going to be determined by the seasons you're in. Each church has a different season. I know in the States, for instance, like in Canada, in January, our attendance typically dips. Okay, in the States, January is like our September here. September, we typically go up, although I found in Canada, it takes a lot longer for our Canadian people to get, it's now Thanksgiving, basically, before they actually settle into the fall routine. Right, isn't that right? It used to be September, all of a sudden your attendance would go up. Now we're into Thanksgiving, and then it's kind of like, come on. Anyway, but in the States, January, right? Typically, a lot of times, so at different areas around the world, there's going to be certain seasons in a year where you're going to have more visitors than normal. Your attendance is going to go up. Okay, so pay attention to those seasons. There's going to be other seasons in your year where your attendance tends to dip. Don't panic. Don't freak out. In the summertime, when we got to Lethbridge and stuff like that, they were saying, well, in the summertime, our attendance goes down, so we shut all of our programs down. And I was like, no. We don't do that, right? Why not? Because in the summertime is typically when we're going to see a whole lot of visitors. More people are likely to visit in the summertime because they get permission to visit, to not be in their church because they're on holidays, and but their pastor doesn't know that they're checking out your church. Or people come in there and they invite family members who are on holidays with them or whatever. You get more visitors. So that's not the time to show, a fraction of what your church can do because everything else is shut down. Oh, sorry, you don't have any kids ministry. Oh, sorry, you don't have this. Oh, sorry, we don't do this anymore. So in the summertime, we're looking and going, okay, no, we might dial things back in some areas, but we're not shutting down. Right, because we understand that there's different parts, and study your trends and your seasons, and that's going to change your priorities. Okay, and then always have one that you're focused on. All right, so now let's go to the organized part. Okay, organize is 2.1 there is pre-plan your calendar. Okay, with in quotations there slots for everything you need to do. Okay, so pre-plan your calendar. So this means typically like a Sunday night is great or Monday morning first thing, whatever. Kind of look at your week or at the end of the last week and kind of pre-plan and begin to kind of slot things that you're going to typically need to do. For example, if you're a lead pastor or senior pastor, you have to do message prep sometime in the week. So put that into your calendar, and that's a slot. You're going to have to do meetings or counseling sessions and put that in there. You're going to have to do some admin work, okay, in there. You're going to have to do some, training with your staff or meeting with your staff. So you're going to have a bunch of different things that you're going to need to do. So then it happens every single week. Those things happen. So plan out your week and kind of put slots in your calendar. Also, when you're doing that, 2.2 is schedule downtime in your calendar. Okay? So I never did this for the longest time. Okay, I never scheduled downtime in my calendar. Now what I do is I use Apple computers and stuff like that. So I use iCal. The reason why I use iCal, the Apple thing, is I love the fact that on iCal I can color coordinate. I can set a category and color coordinate. And so I pick a color for my church meetings. I pick a color for my wife time. Like when I get date time, I pick a time for my kids, and I got grandkids and different things. And I will schedule downtime in my calendar. So I actually put into my calendar date night. Okay, so I'll date my wife. She knows I'm a busy. I got to be doing stuff. I get bored really quick. Drives her crazy. So I'll put in date night, and she knows that there's other things. If she knows I have a night a week dedicated to her, and she's got my full attention, she's happy. It's good, right? And now, doesn't mean I don't talk to her the rest of the week. But she's got my full undivided attention. So that means if somebody calls up with an emergency, no, Pastor Kelly is busy. He's in a meeting. I'm in a meeting with my wife. It's in my calendar. Sorry, I'm booked. Okay, personal time. I put that into my calendar, like personal recreation time. So I know, and I've learned how to schedule. I'll get to that in a moment. My personal time. And there's a big difference between rest and recreation, right? Recreation. There's a big difference. Okay, and I'll get to that in a moment. I schedule in my calendar devotional time. It's amazing how you're a lot more accountable to things if you put it in, if it's in your calendar. Okay, I put into my calendar exercise time. Okay, workout time. It's in my calendar. I know when I'm going to the gym, but it's in my calendar. It's there. It's booked. Okay, I know there's breathing time in my calendar. Right, time to just breathe. You schedule everything so close. I mean, you guys sensed it this week. That's like one after another. You're just like, by the end of the night, I mean, how many have slept really good this week? I mean, like Sunday night, you're just like, whoa. Comes about 9 o'clock, you're like, because we didn't have much breathing time in the day. Well, so you need to understand how your energy works, manage your energy to be able to do that. So schedule that time, breathing time. Write your day off into your calendar. Don't just assume. If you don't control your time, somebody else will. All right? That's the first rule of pastoring. Okay? 2.3, learn to ask yourself, is it truly an emergency? And am I the only one that can help? I'm sure all of you have received that phone call, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Pastor, it's an emergency. My wife just left. She's mad, and we're in a big fight. You need to come right now. The correct response is, your marriage didn't get into trouble overnight. It's not going to be we're not going to fix it overnight. So it takes some time. It's the problem, I guess, the problem will probably still be there tomorrow. I'll see you in the morning. Right? So, I mean, we jump. Everyone else's emergency doesn't dictate our emergency.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And is it something that only I can help with? Right? Or is there somebody else? Right? If there's somebody, if one of the first things is, man, Pastor, I need your counsel right now. I'm going, hey, are you in a small group? Yeah. Have you talked to your small group leader yet? No. I would suggest you start there. Right? If you delegate leadership and pastoral care to people like this, empower them to lead. Right? And do that. And if they can't, and let them come to you and saying, this is over my head, I need some help. Right? Too many church leaders give up their personal time and family time for crises that aren't really crises. Okay? So I can run around the whole world saving marriages and lose my own. Right?
Kelly, do you do your business on your day off, or do you do your business during the week?
My business, which would my personal business. I do it on my day off, yeah. My personal business stuff, yeah. Doctor's appointments, yeah, dentist appointments, yeah.
That can be a question.
It can be a question, yeah.
How to use that.
Not all my staff do that, but yeah, I try to do that as much as possible. Right? We take Fridays off, so doctors are still, yeah. So I was like, might as well do it there. But 2.4, great question though. 2.4, power down. Okay, what I mean by that is comes to our devices. Right? You're as much as the problem as they are on here, right? Okay, because I mean, if it's your time off, it's your time off. If you're still all accessible, all the rest of it, then it's not really your time off. Yeah, right? So I mean, you can control, you can block your emails, your read receipt, you can pay attention to what's on here and going, hey, no, it's not that. Now, if you're the only pastor, then have somebody else in the church. If there's an emergency that it can power through it, it goes to. There's an elder or somebody goes to, but you need to, as a pastor, you can't be the only one. 24/7 on call. it'll kill you. Right? So there's times that there are real emergencies. And you need to shut everything down and, it's inconvenient and you still go. Those are a lot more rare than we make them. All right? So learn how to power down. Okay? And there's times where it's okay to be unavailable. It's a good place to say amen. Okay. Come on, pastors. All right, 2.5, schedule time to recreate. Okay, so this is my typical. So I you have a day off, and so a typical day off, I'm going to rest. So in a day off, I was like, okay, I'm gonna sleep longer, sleep in a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna rest. I'll watch a movie or play a video game or do something like this and just rest and just ride a motorcycle, do something. But how many like if you just laze around all day, how many have done that and then you're more tired? All right, you're more exhausted at the end of the day than you're like, wow, it's really tiring to do nothing. It is. It is. Right? Because there's a difference between rest and recreation. Recreation is recreation time. So you need to ask yourself, what recreates me? What re-energizes me? What will fuel me? And it's different for every person. It has something different. And it's simply just by kind of taking account and saying, man, I do something and it energizes me. I do something else and it sucks the life out of me, right? So understand, for me, reading books, right, is something that recreates me. There's something, it's just, I pour it out. It's kind of like change in your pocket, that if you got, change in your pocket and ministry is taking change out of your pocket and you're constantly pouring out of your pocket, eventually you're going to reach in your pocket and there's no more change left. Unless you find a way to refuel what's in there. And if you minister all week and you never put back in, okay, then what's going to happen? There's going to be nothing more to give. And this is where we get into burnout and this all the rest of it. So you got to find something that recreates you. So for me, my days off now are what recreates me. Well, my days off now look like I get a date with my grandson, which is totally energizing, right? Then I'll do daddy dates with my little kids, right? Which is energizing and fun, and then exhausting because they're busy. But it's a lot of fun. Energizes them, energizes me. And then in the afternoons on my Friday, you'll find me at a coffee shop somewhere for probably 3-4 hours with a book and a good coffee and a book. And I'm sitting there reading and highlighting and writing notes and all the rest of it. And by doing that, all of a sudden I'm fueling with ideas. And I always have my iPad or my phone beside me with Evernote open, and I'm always jotting down ideas because it's amazing when you read something, it sparks an idea. Oh, I got to do that. I spark something, and so I'm taking the notes and doing this and recreating. And it's gotten to the place where it's been a habit for so long now that my wife will look at me and saying, "You need to go read now," because she sees you're running a little dry. Like, refuel time, right. So she kicks me out of the house and go read. But I've scheduled time in there. We're saying, okay, 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Fridays. That's in my calendar. That's coffee shop and recreate time. Okay, so find what refuels you. Okay, which we get to number 3. In this one is discipline. Okay, so now we prioritize, now we organize our calendar, now we're going to discipline and actually follow through on that one. So discipline is work your calendar. Okay, so work your calendar, massage it, try new things, schedule things that are going to work for you, for your team, and those kind of things. So work your calendar. What I typically do, what I do with my calendar now is I'll block my time. So what that means is I will block a morning or I'll block an entire day for a project. And I found this is better than just kind of sporadically fitting in meetings in between all this time. So what I'll do is I'll block Mondays, for instance, is my content creation day. So that's the day that I'm going to, create sermons and podcasts and different things, content creation, write blogs, whatever it might be, whatever content I need to create. That's the day that I would prepare something like this and work that. So content creation is on Mondays, and I wake up in the morning, I know what my day is going to be, I know what's going to happen. There's not distractions, it's blocked out. I'll work from my home office instead of at the church office. whatever it might be, but I'm going to block out my message time. Now, can I just make a recommendation, pastors? I would highly recommend, if possible, you can control your calendar to do your sermon prep day on Monday. I used to do it on Fridays or Saturday night or whatever, but I found that if you leave it toward the end of the week, it's always in the back of your mind. Okay, the week has happened, and there's different things that happen, meetings that are outside of your control, meetings that are tense, or something going on, and it'll inevitably show up in your message. Right? And it's distracted, and you're not focused, and you're not giving your best. So I found by doing it at the beginning of the week, it gets off my mind, and then it doesn't. Then I can concentrate 100% on my counseling and on the meetings that I'm doing. And doing it at the beginning of the week helps me, and then I can chew on it, and I'm meditating on it. And because I know what my message is, there's something I'll read or something I'll come across and going, ooh, that's a great analogy. That would make that point a whole lot better. And it's a lot easier just kind of meditate on it, soak on it, and put it into here, right? I never like going into a message with it just in here, right? I want it in here. 3.2 is manage your energy, not just your time. Okay? Craig Rochelle did an amazing podcast recently on energy, and he broke down energy into 4 different phases here. So the energy there's physical energy, so manage your physical energy, so exercise, okay, what you eat or what you drink is going to determine your energy. If you're not getting enough water, your physical energy is gonna lack. If you're not getting enough exercise, your physical energy is going to lack. If you eat the wrong kinds of food, listen, this is a mission we're on, right? I've realized that eating carbs and sugars for my body type actually makes me more tired. That if I cut carbs and sugars, I'm more mentally alert and I have more energy. Right? That's what I found for my body type. So is that easy all the time? No, but the mission's bigger than, right? So I feel better, I have more energy. So understand how your body works. Okay, physical energy, how much sleep do you need? Because some people, you get 8 hours of sleep, you're more tired. That's too much. It's true, right? Some people, so you manage what works for you. When do you go to bed? When do you wake up? Are you a night person? And everyone, hey, we all prefer to be night people. Let's just be honest. Because we like sleeping in or whatever it might be. But no, you have to say, okay, what works? When am I most alert and where's my energy time? So physical energy, there's emotional energy. Okay, in my week when I block my time, I don't put my counseling meetings on Thursdays. I actually block a time. So Tuesdays or Mondays is content creation. Tuesdays is typically service creation with my team, and we'll work on service programming. And I'll meet with some of the campus pastors. Wednesdays, I will block Wednesday morning for counseling time. And that's the only time I do counseling. And so someone calls me up and says, I can only meet with you at night. I can't get off work. I was like, yes, but if you had a doctor's appointment, would you make the time, get off work to go see the doctor? Yes. Well, guess what? My hours are. And if you want to see me, this is the time in which you can schedule to see me. My assistant is taught on this and saying, okay, and if that Wednesday morning is booked up, then guess what? The next available time that Pastor Kelly can meet with you is next Wednesday at right? And that's the time, right? Because you can't, if you spread it all over the place, somebody else is controlling your calendar, your energy. You're not giving your best to them. If you counsel at the end of the day, you're typically more emotionally, not yourself. You're not going to be as sharp, and you're going to be thinking more about getting home than you are about what's going on there. So hey, I can give my best to you if we meet at whatever, right? So manage that, and then Thursdays are my project days. But manage your emotional energy, and so be careful what you do at the end of the week, because at the end of the week, whatever the end of your week is, you're going to be more tired. You're going to see your emotional energy, and then you're going to respond differently, right? So, and don't expend all of your emotional energy at church so that you have nothing left to give at home, right? The third one there is your mental energy or your creative energy. Okay, know what fuels your mind, and that's not just caffeine, but mental energy, creative energy. When am I most creative? What time of the day am I most creative? If you're most creative in the morning, that's not the time to answer emails. That's a waste. That's a brainless activity. That's a that's a routine, brainless act. So that's not the, so what, man, I'm going to do content creation first thing in the morning. That's when I'm sharpest. Understand when you're the sharpest. If you're one of those people that mid-afternoon, you get the mid-afternoon slump, that's probably not the time to prepare your sermon. It'll be sleepy, right? You're not going to have your full passion in it. Okay? And then your spiritual energy. There's just times like spiritual energies, man, you pray yourself hot. That's spiritual energy, right? What's it going to take, devotional wise, what's it going to take to refuel and just to get energized and be passionate and Holy Spirit is just like, you just get in those places. There are other times where you're just spiritually lit. What do I do to rekindle that fire? How do I keep that fire always going? So I think those 4 areas in managing your energy, when you look at your calendar, how you set that up is vital. So I also, another couple of tips and tricks, and then we'll go into some questions here, is I double up. Okay, so I double up as much as possible. So for example, last year, I was overseeing Canada and traveling all over the world. Last year I was on 36 different airplanes throughout the year, right? 36 different trips, which, in a year, that's a lot. And just a lot of time away. But I also maximize that time. Well, where do you find time to read a book or to write a book? Pastor Kelly, where do you find the time to write a book? I was on 36 airplanes. All the book was written on an airplane. The entire thing was on an airplane. I was like, what else am I going to... That's the time. I was just like, okay, that's in my mode. I'm just going to find something that I can refuel, do everything on purpose, for a purpose, right? So the other thing is, I'd highly recommend, pastors, is schedule your meetings back to back. Okay, so stack your meeting. That's called meeting stacking. So if you have 2 counseling sessions, stack them back to back. Don't spread them out so you have a meeting at 9 a.m. and another one at 3 p.m. Or 9 a.m. and one at 11, and the meeting's only going to be half an hour or an hour, right? Because what happens is if you have too much space in between your meetings, that's not enough time to actually concentrate on the next project, and so you can never feel like you're doing this. So stack them back to back. The other thing is stack them in such a way where you got that person who in counseling you can never keep it within an hour. Stack them because they're the talkers and they just want to keep on going. Stack them, in front of the next meeting. So you can manage your time this way, because always people want to dominate your time. Say, okay, I'll do that, and then instruct your assistant, knock on the door and saying, hey, Pastor, your next appointment is here. Okay, thank you, and you can close down that meeting and go. So little tips on that, and then delegate as much as possible.